Absolutely incredible. I don't know what else to say. Rarely am I speechless. I'm speechless. So listen now to this. This is how this is not outside of the war. The biggest story in the country is beyond me. So here is now exactly what happened. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, in the dead of night, I'm talking at 2 a.m. in the morning, when most of the members of the Republican Party in the Senate, his Senate caucus, were asleep, so they had no idea he had done this, filed an amendment to the funding bill to try to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. As you know, it is now the longest government or partial government shutdown in U.S. history. Department of Homeland Security is not being funded in the middle of a war. And not just a middle of a war, but a middle of a war with the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. Thousands and thousands of DHS workers, no paycheck. None. Coast Guard, no paycheck. ICE, no paycheck. Customs and Border Protection, no paycheck. The support staff for ICE and Customs and Border Protection, no paycheck. So, what did Thune do? Rather than stand up to the Democrats and call them out and say, I'm done with these games. You're going to pay a price for your obstructionism, for shutting down DHS, for inconveniencing so many Americans who travel with these massive long lines at so many airports, for jeopardizing airline and airport security, and for having all of these government workers, by the way, most of whom make on average $45,000 to $50,000 a year. I mean, they're not getting rich working at the TSA, for example. And yet you won't even fund them, and they have now gone over a month, 2 pay cycles. They have missed 2 paychecks. Notice, members of Congress get paid. They never miss a paycheck. That is always deposited. But for these poor government workers, blank you. And so what did Thune do? At 2 in the morning, in the dead of night, this little Judas comes up with a bill in which it funds DHS, but it freezes out spending for ICE, immigration enforcement, and Customs and Border Protection. In plain English, he effectively has reopened the border. He has reopened the border, and he has now effectively prevented or stopped immigration enforcement, or at least stopped the funding of immigration enforcement. And then this little Judas, 5 hours later, was seen at Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C., hightailing it back for a vacation 2 weeks in South Dakota. Now, on top of all of this, he had a big grin, smug, arrogant, and he said, well, now it's in the hands of the House of Representatives. The ball now is in their court. So if they want to fund most of DHS, all they got to do is rubber stamp what we did. Whatever they decide to do, I don't care. I'm off to South Dakota. I've got a 2-week vacation. What everyone noticed at the airport was not just him. Every senator left. Almost every member of Congress hightailed it out. All of them had a VIP escort. You think they waited in those long lines while Americans were there, frustrated air travelers waiting 2, 3, 4 hours in those long security lines because TSA was not paid? No. They bypassed TSA and the security screening. They have the VIP. They just took their luggage and they walked right by and went straight to board their flights. Catherine Clark, here in Massachusetts, the Democrat minority whip, was seen. She didn't wait at TSA. She didn't wait in the line. No, she's off. She had a VIP escort, walked right by everybody, the peasants, the poor, the people who are flying to friendly skies. She just walked right by them as they looked at these politicians, laughing, giggling, smiling, all of them. Lindsey Graham, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I could run down the whole list. The bill then goes to the House. Mike Johnson, I've never seen House Speaker Johnson this upset, saying this is more than an insult. It is blatantly irresponsible and reckless. We are not going to fund ICE and Customs and Border Protection and immigration enforcement in the middle of a war, as I said, with the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. And as Mike Johnson, I don't agree with him on much, but on this, I got to say, Mike Johnson was spot on. He said the biggest issue that catapulted Trump and the GOP to victory in 2024 was Biden's wide open border and the fact that he flooded our country with dangerous, criminal, illegal aliens. That's what got Trump elected fundamentally and why he got 78 million votes. And now these cowards in the Senate give us a funding bill that effectively reopens the border and cuts funding for immigration enforcement. As Mike Johnson said, do they want to lose the midterms? Are they begging to lose the midterms? Is this part of some kind of a plot to lose the midterms? So, not only can John Thune not pass the SAVE Act, not do anything to even try to abolish the filibuster, but this loser stabs the Republican base in the back. It was unconditional surrender to the Democrats, masquerading as a quote-unquote solution. Now, the only reason why the lines have lessened over the last 3 to 4 days, if you go, say, to Logan Airport, or even to some other airports now, things are much better in Atlanta, much better at LaGuardia, much better, and other major airports, is because A, Trump has deployed thousands of ICE agents to help backfill and back up the overworked and understaffed TSA, and they're doing a wonderful job looking at boarding passes, helping people load their belongings into bins to make the lines go through more efficiently through the X-ray machines. So you have the help of ICE, and the TSA agents have been paid because Trump had to sign an executive order late last week because Congress can't overcome the gridlock. So, as Congress cannot fund the Department of Homeland Security, with TSA agents going now over a month without pay, missing not one but 2 paychecks, the only reason why they got their back pay, in fact, they got it, I believe, yesterday, was because Donald Trump came to the rescue and signed an executive order saying, I don't care, where unspent government funds, use that to pay TSA agents. Now, the larger point is this. John Thune can't even fund the Department of Homeland Security. And he's now willing to surrender the moral high ground to the Democrats? How do you do this? Seriously, how do you do this? How do you take an issue like Biden's open border and millions of dangerous criminal illegal aliens who are now being openly protected and coddled by Democrats, and fritter away, squander away that winning issue, and you won't fund immigration enforcement? You won't fund ICE? You're willing now to betray us on the most fundamental campaign promise that Trump made? In fact, the very reason I believe the Republicans won and Trump won in 2024? Okay, so you have multiple pieces now. You've got the Save America Act, which would effectively end Democrat voter fraud. And Thune is not going to move that through. They just leave that hanging. Even though 85 to 87% of the American people support it. Very few pieces of legislation have more support than this. Thune is just letting it hang. He's just leaving it there in limbo. Off they went on vacation. The Department of Homeland Security remains completely unfunded. We're now going into, what is it, way past the second paycheck period. So you've got people now that have missed not one but two paychecks. And I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands. These are people in the Coast Guard, people in Department of Homeland Security that oversee terrorist watchdogs looking at possible terrorists coming into our country, guarding our shoreline, airport security. FEMA is also completely unfunded. But the ghastly deed was when John Thune filed his amendment, literally in the middle of the night, to cut funding, giving the Democrats what they wanted, everything, to cut funding to ICE, to border enforcement, to immigration enforcement, and then just hightailing it out of town. Now, the House rejected it. To Mike Johnson's credit, they said, absolutely not. Absolutely not are we going to pass this. And so the House held. They stayed a little longer, and then they passed essentially a 2-month continuing resolution, which funds the entire Department of Homeland Security for 2 months. So that's what the House passed, and the Senate is not going to do anything because they're not coming back until, middle of April. So we're going to have no Department of Homeland Security, no funded. The Department of Homeland Security will remain unfunded for at least a couple more weeks. I'm telling you, you can't make this up. And so, as Speaker Mike Johnson said, this is absolutely unconscionable. What they did is beyond unconscionable. You're gonna reopen Biden's border, the border under Biden, and you're not going to give us the money to be able to now deport illegals and enforce immigration law? And you just completely surrender and capitulate to the Democrats because you don't want to miss a 2-week vacation? Because God forbid you should actually stay in Washington and do your job? Now, listen to Mike Johnson. Don't take my word for it. So anyway, the House then came back and they passed a continuing resolution for 60 days that funds all of DHS. The Democrats in the Senate have said, this is a complete non-starter. Don't even bother sending it over because we're going to vote it down. Thune will not break the filibuster, the 60-vote threshold. And so, again, we remain in complete gridlock, and DHS remains unfunded in the middle of a war. Listen now to Speaker Johnson talking about what Thune did and that bill that the Senate passed over. Roll cut 15, Mike.
This gambit that was done last night is a joke. I'm quite convinced that it can't be that every Senate Republican read the language of this bill, and I'm going to just read you one excerpt of it because it's pretty alarming, and it says everything that you need to know in Section 4. This is on page 2 of the bill. This is an actual copy of the bill. That excerpt. It says, quote, "The contents printed under the headings of this bill, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Border Security Operations, under the heading of U.S. Customs and Border Patrol and Protection, shall have no force or effect for purposes of this Act, and amounts specified in the final bill under the subheading Border Security Operations and under the heading U.S. Customs and Border Protection and under the headings of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in the Department of Homeland Security shall be zero." We're not doing that.
You think? You think? But zero for ICE. Zero for Customs and Border Protection. Zero for Immigration Enforcement. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's like what Miranda Devine wrote in her recent column in the New York Post, which I urge all of you to read. It is so spot on. She says she says there's no other conclusion. There are clearly some Republican senators, and she's basically implying it's Thune, wink, wink, who now have made a decision to lose the midterms to the Democrats, to see Trump impeached, and to see his agenda derailed. She said there's no other explanation for this. This was betrayal in the dead of night. This was a complete betrayal of the president, of the party, of the base, of the voters, of everything that MAGA voted for. Listen now. Hold on. I don't have time. I'm going to play it on the other side, and then I want to start taking your calls. 617-266-6868. Listen now. I'm going to play it on the other side. Forgive me. Speaker Johnson coming out and saying what they have now done is unconscionable. This bill from both Republicans and Democrats in the Senate is absolutely unconscionable. And Thune now needs to be held accountable. Okay, I'm getting a lot of text messages, emails from Kuhner Country listeners saying, does this mean the border has been reopened again? No. The Senate, look, it has to pass the House. It didn't. The House rejected the Senate bill, and Trump would obviously veto it. But the fact is, this is the deal, and I'm putting deal in quotation marks, that John Thune hammered out with Chuck Schumer to get out of town and have his 2-week vacation. You want to talk about an absolute betrayal? I was listening to, I was on Mass on Sunday, and I always enjoy Palm Sunday Mass. And every year, as they go through the betrayal of Jesus and how he was betrayed by Judas and how the crowd eventually called out for Christ to be crucified, I always learn something new. And when they repeat that story, and I got to tell you, all I kept thinking was Thune. John Judas Thune. I mean, he's Judas John as far as I'm concerned. And the only difference, and I said this to Grace afterwards, is say what you want, but Judas, yes, he betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. But then he's so ashamed and guilt-ridden for what he's done. He goes back to the high priests and he throws the 30 pieces of silver on the floor. Throws the money back, saying I don't want it. And they're like, well, what are you coming to us for? The deal's been made. Get lost. And then Judas goes and hangs himself out of sheer, as I said, sheer guilt and shame. No, these people, forget the 30 pieces throwing it back. They want more and more and more. They can't line their pockets enough. And instead of going out and hanging themselves in shame, they're at casinos. Lindsey Graham was spotted 3 hours after this bill was rammed through the Senate. Good old Lindsey was in a Disney World with a bubble wand. I swear to you, a bubble wand. Walking around Disney, having a good time. The other lawmakers hit Vegas, Casino after casino after casino. Others, junkets to Florida, junkets to the Caribbean, junkets to Hawaii. They couldn't wait to get out of town and party, as they say here. And party, party, party. Listen now. So the House rejected the Senate bill. Thank the Lord. Listen now to Speaker Johnson saying this, what they did is it's unforgivable. Roll cut 15A, Mike.
And it is unconscionable to me that the Democrats would force some sort of negotiation at 3 o'clock in the morning and try to hoist this upon the American people and then get on their jets and go home for their holiday and pretend and think that we're going to go along with that. So we're going to do something different. We're going to do the responsible thing. Republicans are going to continue to govern and do the right thing morally, legally, and politically. We are going to take care of those who take care of us. The employees and the Department of Homeland Security have gone without funding and without paychecks for 42 days. It's the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. Bested only by the longest shutdown in U.S. history that these same radical Democrats hoisted upon the government in the fall of last year. 42 days they've gone without pay. Well,
that's now the number one shutdown. This is a couple days old, this cut. So 43 days was the record. We're now, is it 45, 46? So this is now the longest shutdown in history. Okay? Now, I want you to listen. This is Congressman Chip Roy from Texas. Red hot. Red hot. He was angry. I don't blame him. When, Thune and Schumer send this bill over, as I said, no funding for Customs and Border Protection, no funding for ICE, no funding for immigration enforcement. It effectively would reopen the border. Now, the House has rejected it. As I said, they then did their own bill again, and they have basically it's a CR, a continuing resolution, would fund all of the Department of Homeland Security, every agency, for 60 days. And then the House left because the Senate already left. So there's no point in the House being in session because the Senate's out of session. They're in recess because everybody's partying. John Thune went on vacation for 2 weeks, so we don't know where Thune is. Thune is somewhere in South Dakota. What he's doing, who knows? Marlboro Man has disappeared in South Dakota. So listen now to Chip Roy in the Capitol hallway, and he was angry, and I don't blame him. Roll cut 7, a mic.
It is absolutely offensive to the people that we represent that the Senate would send over a bill that doesn't fund Border Patrol and the core components of ICE, particularly what the chairman's talking about with respect to stopping child trafficking. It's absurd. And the fact that they would expect us to take that up and pass it today as they leave town, I mean, could the Senate be any more lazy than to send to us a bill that doesn't do the job and then leave town? So we're going to stand up and say no to that. We're going to send back a bill that's responsible so that the American people can get behind us for wanting to secure the United States of America, defend the people, and do what we said we would do, and send it back over to the Senate.
So that's what they did. They passed a continuing resolution, funds it for 2 months, as I said, and now it's just sitting there in the Senate, and who knows when they'll be back to take it up. But to his point, could the Senate be any more lazy? No. No. And, they send a bill that doesn't fund the Border Patrol and the core components of ICE, by the way, including tracking down and deporting human and sex traffickers. Human and sex traffickers. So I don't know what was so freaking important. I got to be careful because the F-bomb just almost came out of my mouth. What is so freaking important that these guys have to run out of town for a 2-week vacation? And by the way, I'm sorry, I have to say this. Every time I check, they're on some vacation. It's Christmas break. It's Thanksgiving break. It's summer break. It's spring break. It's Easter break. It's always some freaking break. Like, what do you do all the time? That's what I want to know. Like, really? Like, what do you work, 6 months of the year? I mean, can you guys can you actually work, for God's sake? And actually do something productive for the American people? Anyway, listen now to Trump. He was on Air Force One, and he couldn't believe the bill that the Senate passed, that John Thune passed, or helped pass with Chuck. So, listen now. Trump is asked, Air Force One, were you caught off guard that the Senate passed this DHS bill that doesn't fund ICE or immigration enforcement or the Border Patrol? And Trump is he doesn't know what to say. He's shaking his head. He can't believe it. He just can't believe it. Roll cut 1, Mike.
Sir, were you caught off guard when the Senate passed the DHS funding bill?
It's a shame. They should really just go to a filibuster. They should terminate the filibuster.
And will you complain?
And they should vote. That's what I think. Look, I think the Senate is playing it too soft. The Republicans are wonderful people, but we're dealing with very sick individuals. The Democrats are sick. There's something wrong. They're like terrorists. And we have to protect our country. We have to protect our border. We have to protect our wall. It was up to them. They'd open up the wall. They'd let millions of people pour into our country again. And we've all been through that. I don't care if you're liberal or you're conservative. What we have now is we have a beautiful, closed border.
Well, now they want to reopen it. He's right. And he called the Democrats terrorists. He said they're sick and that we have to protect our country from them. And he's completely right. John Thune and the Senate Republican leadership, these rhinos, are clearly not doing that. Absolutely not. And so the question I have for all of you, should Congress come back and fund the Department of Homeland Security completely? Should this partial government shutdown end? And what do we do now about that traitor, John Thune? Should we be compromising with the Democrats to not fund ICE, Border Patrol, or immigration enforcement in order to get the rest of DHS funded? I say this is an unconditional surrender and a betrayal. You know, if you just look at what's happening right now, even with this Department of Homeland Security shutdown, how this should be a massive political winner for the Republicans. And you see the division. The Senate Republicans are divided amongst themselves. Senate Republicans are divided from House Republicans. Disunity in politics is death. And you got all this infighting among Republicans. Everybody's backstabbing one another. Everybody's betraying their voters, the base, the president, one another. And yet you look at the radical left, the Democrats, and they are rock solid united behind their incredibly unpopular extreme policies. And that's my fear. Nobody wants to go back to the Biden years. Nobody wants to reopen the border, but the Democrats say they will. Nobody wants to have millions and millions and millions of dangerous, violent, criminal, illegal aliens pour into our country again, but the Democrats say that's exactly what they're going to do. Nobody wants to have our cities now completely saturated with gangbangers and murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and human traffickers. But that's exactly what the Democrats are going to give us if they win. And I just find it incredible that on an issue that the Republicans used to own, in fact, it was a key reason why Trump won so many votes, 78 million, and propelled himself to the White House, to the presidency, and gave both Republicans a majority in the House and in the Senate. So on an issue that they should have complete political and moral advantage over, they're just kissing it away. They're just frittering it away. And now these people, you can't even stay in Washington to get the freaking government funded and to get, in the middle of a war, and to have DHS officials paid so to keep the homeland and our airports and our airlines safe. Like, you can't make this up. And then Thune cuts a deal with Schumer that cuts out all funding for ICE, Border Patrol, and immigration enforcement. And the guy then runs to the airport, by the way, bypasses all the TSA screening, as they all did. Every senator did that. Every member of the House did that. And they board these planes, and then they go off, and I'm telling you, it's been a nonstop party for the last 4 or 5 days. What are you partying over? Fellow Americans are waiting in line. Fellow Americans, government workers, have now gone without not one but 2 paychecks. And you guys, it's disgusting. It's casinos, it's resorts, it's hotels, it's Disney World, it's Hawaii, it's Miami, it's by the way, Chris Murphy, that clown, the senator from Connecticut. You know where he was? He was with Jimmy Kimmel in California at a No Kings rally, enjoying the beach and the surf and partying with Jimmy Kimmel. Like, Connecticut is on the other side of the country. No. It's a 2-week party vacation. They got to go. Every single one of these members of Congress, they got to go. They don't give a damn about hardworking, regular, working-class Americans. It's so obvious. They have us wait in line for hours. They bypass all this TSA screening. They never go without a paycheck. We have to go without a paycheck. They literally jeopardize our very security against the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, in the middle of a war. And they're out there, you got to see them with their stupid bubble wands or doing double shots at a casino, La Fontainebleau, in Vegas. A couple of them, they look like they're face down at the bar. No, this is Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is an insult, an absolute insult to the American people and to the American taxpayer. Agree, disagree. All right, Nick in Weymouth, you're going to kick us off, Nick. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, I'm surprised they didn't release Menendez from prison as part of that deal. you look at the Senate, right? You got 79 people in the Congress who are vets. That will be 61 Republicans and 18 Communist Democrats. In the Senate, you got 20 vets, 10 and 10. So that's 535 members of the illustrious Congress and 99 bums in the Senate. I would count on only 10 of those in a crunch. Now, Johnson, yeah, I'll give him his due, but he also let Garland off the hook. Luna put in a thing last year, in his last year, where they impeached him, and when she was going for part 2, where they put him in prison, they have their own jail, the Capitol Police, right? The Congress has its own jail cell for not giving up the information that of the audio testimony, right, of what's his name, Biden, right, in his big investigation on his millions of documents that he stole, right? Same thing. What did he do? What did Biden do to protect Garland after that? After Republicans failed to do anything, he did an executive order, right, saying that he cannot be touched. He doesn't have to release him. Same thing Obama did with Holder, by the way. So if you don't have a strong attorney general, you got a problem, right? So anyways, and we know what's been happening here. Has anybody gone to jail with all the stuff, Minnesota? Forget Minnesota. All the money that the bums in the Biden family got. All we got was a dog and pony Jordan Gomer show. Nothing at a Comer show. Nothing ever happens. Nobody goes to jail. That's part of what we're talking about. Johnson is running. He has 4. The difference between him and Thune right now, he's got 4 people running against him. He runs every 2 years. He's running this year. Is Thune running this year? No. Is he running next year? No. He runs in 2028. That's why he is the bum that he is. That's why McConnell designated him to be the queen of the Senate, right? So without getting rid of these bums, nothing's ever going to happen.
I agree.
Right.
I agree, Nick. I completely agree. And look, it's obvious now. He's Mitch McConnell. John Thune, Judas John, is Mitch McConnell 2.0. There's no question. He was trained by McConnell, taught by McConnell, molded by McConnell, and McConnell hated Trump with a passion. McConnell embodied the establishment, the old guard, the globalists, the rhino wing, and that's clearly where Thune comes from. And McConnell's goal was to always sabotage Trump, and I believe that's what Thune is doing now. And look, let me go even further, okay? I'll be on the record. John Thune is doing this deliberately. No man is that stupid. He's just not. The staff around him is telling him what I'm telling all of you is what his own staffers are telling him. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to figure this out. You're sitting on the SAVE Act, which is the most important piece of legislation in the 21st century that President Trump has publicly said again and again and again. It is the one bill that must be passed to safeguard our elections. And you're not doing anything to get it passed? What you've now done is you've now made a deal with the devil, with the Democrats, purposefully now not funding ICE or Border Patrol or any kind of immigration enforcement, and then you hightail it out of town? I mean, how much more do you want to screw your own base? You know, Johnson, look, I agree with you, Nick. I'm not a big fan of Mini Mike, as I call him, okay? He used to be MAGA Mike, now he's Mini Mike. But even Mini Mike is better, I'm sorry, he is better than John Thune. Maybe because, for political survival and self-preservation, he has to be. But the fact is, even he looked at this, he saw that bill that they sent him. And he was looking at it in disbelief. Like, you send me this dreck? You send me this piece of, this POS? This is what you send me? If you want, I'll read you what he said. This is Speaker Johnson saying, do they want us to lose the midterms? Like, do you guys want it? I mean, you don't want to be majority leader anymore? Like, do you want us to get wiped out so nobody votes for us because we're screwing them on the most important issue, which was the border and immigration? And that's why he said, no way we're going to support this. No way it's rejected on the spot. Thune wants Trump to go down. That's why he won't pass the SAVE Act, because that'll clean up our elections. He doesn't want that. And now he's trying to actively, on his own and other Republicans, defund ICE, defund the border, defund Border Patrol, so that we lose the midterms, and then Trump is impeached, and his entire agenda is completely and utterly derailed. So Thune would rather be out of power and give up his majority leadership just to stick it to Trump and destroy MAGA. Again, it's Holy Week. So let me make a Holy Week analogy. It's Judas, and I'm willing now to have Christ crucified. Give me my 30 pieces of silver. The difference being, I don't want to repeat myself, is that Judas at least was human enough to be ashamed of what he did so much that he gives the 30 pieces of silver back and then he hangs himself because he's so guilt-ridden over what he's done. This guy, not only does he take the 30 pieces of silver, he wants another 30 pieces, and now he's partying in South Dakota. What, hanging himself? The guy's partying in South Dakota. He's proud of what he did. It's an insult to Judas for me to call John Thune Judas John. But I mean, that's what you're dealing with. So, no, this is an absolute betrayal. And as one Republican in the House said rightly, they betrayed us all for a stinking 2-week vacation just to get out. Like, no, we got to get out of here. I mean, our vacation starts now. It's Friday. Come on. So at 2 a.m, they cut this deal. 2 a.m. And by 7 o'clock, Thune was already on a plane out of Reagan Airport. You can't make this up. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi, Russ.
I fear the enemy within, without question. The enemy within, no matter how we vote, maintains power. How they end up doing that is unbelievable. How do we defeat them when too many of our fellow Americans get sucked into the propaganda? Let's take this past weekend. National protest by ignorant protesters, okay? Where were they when our overpowering government controlled all aspects of our life, especially movement, enforced vaccinations? Unbelievable. They also treated the unvaccinated as outcasts. And I'll tell you, I get sick and tired of being treated as an outcast. And I was not a fool, and I did not get sucked into this so-called vaccine, okay? Now, here in Massachusetts, we have 11 useless people representing us in Washington, and there's never any change. We also have a useless governor, Speaker of the House, and the President of the Senate. The majority of mass voters are politically stupid, and yes, life is tough enough, especially when you're politically stupid. What say you, Jeff?
Oh, I agree completely, Russ. I really do. And look, at a bare minimum, just to bounce off of what you're saying, if they at least had to wait in line, as everyone else had to wait in line for the TSA screening. Catherine Clark was pictured. I'm just picking on her because she was seen, literally pictured. And people were looking at her and they were hissing and commenting because they noticed, or some of them noticed her. This is the House Majority Whip, who is primarily responsible for shutting down the Department of Homeland Security and making sure that TSA agents are not paid. Now, Trump came to the rescue with an executive order, and now they're getting their back pay. It began yesterday. But the point is, at the time, over the weekend, she's walking with a VIP escort, and you got these long lines. They're snaking around the airport. And she's just flying by with her VIP escort, her stupid sunglasses on, even though they're indoors. And she's acting all important. And everyone's like, hey, how come she's not waiting in line? Like, we're here for hours. We're still in line. And she just goes smug, that big, arrogant smug, smiling. And she goes right by all that screening. And they just let her on in, and she goes and boards her flight, first class, and have a nice day. What if, let them wait in line? Why do they get to have VIP treatment? And if they're going to not pay TSA and cause all this congestion and these 3, 4, 5, 6 hour waits, let them wait in line with everybody else. Suffer the consequences of their own actions. You don't want to fund the Department of Homeland Security? You don't want to fund TSA? Fine. Wait in line like everybody else. And I think, honestly, it would just take once. They're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's 2 hours. It's 3 hours. It's 4 hours. I'll tell you, the next day, you know what they would do? They would fund DHS. All of it. TSA, all of it. But you see, that's the problem, Russ. The lawmakers, rules for thee, and then there's rules for them. And they have separate rules. The rules and laws do not apply to them. So they don't give a damn. They don't go without a paycheck. We do. They don't have to wait in long lines. We do. Their security, they have phenomenal security. When the illegals come into our neighborhoods, they come after you and me and our families, not them and their gated communities and their armada of security that they have. See, they want to take away our guns. But notice, Catherine Clark, here, you should have seen the security details she had. All of them armed to the teeth. So you see, she can have guns guarding her, but God forbid you should have a gun to protect yourself and your family. Now, I'm telling you that our founding fathers would not accept this. Our founding fathers would say, no, this is an oppressive government. This is no taxation this is taxation without representation. The taxpayers are not being represented. Frankly, they're getting screwed. This is no longer a representative government. This is a ruling class that thinks they're above the law. Well, I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done. Now, okay, fine. We're going to primary Thune. He's got to go. Lisa Murkowski, she's got to go. Susan Collins, she's got to go. This clown, John Curtis out of Utah, this Republican, where they found this guy, holy mackerel. He may be more open borders than Biden. I swear to you. This guy's got to go. So until we get rid of the rhinos and the Judases in our own party, there's no moving forward. And honestly, the guy I feel sorry for is Trump. And frankly, us, his voters, because we're the ones, he's getting screwed and we're getting screwed. Russ, as usual, spot on. Jeff in Quincy, thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Today, my friend. Okay, here's the deal. We are at the part of socialism where we're out of everybody else's money. And you think things are bad now. They're going to get a lot worse with these idiots spending. And if Republicans don't get off of their behinds and get their act together, I'm going to vote Democrat in the next election and burn this country down faster because I am sick of death by 1,000 cuts.
Well, Jeff, I got to say this. What is amazing is that Thune is doing all this. And I'll play you the cut when either next break or the other break. But Trump comes out and says, we know they're going to end the filibuster. The moment the Democrats come back and take control of the Senate, we know they're going to abolish the filibuster. They've told us that's what they're going to do. So Trump is like, he's just bewildered. He's like, so end the filibuster. Just end it. They're going to do it, so beat them to the punch. Pass the SAVE Act, funded the government, fund TSA, fund ICE, fund Border Patrol, just fund it all. Pass, real immigration reform so that you codify everything that we're doing now to protect the American homeland from illegal aliens. And we have a deportation policy in place that will go on for years and years. It just just abolish, break the filibuster, abolish it. And Thune, nope, he won't even consider it. He won't even consider it. And what that tells me, Jeff, is he's bought and paid for. He is bought and paid for, just like McConnell. And I want to know who's signing his checks. I want to know who's the one that's buying him. Because you find out, you follow the money, and you'll find out exactly who he's in the pocket of. And Jeff, I think this is our problem now, is that we have a political elite, a uniparty, a swamp, as Trump calls it, that now has become so corrupt and so arrogant and so out of touch that they're now leaving the door wide open for the radical left to take over. That's what I meant yesterday when I said, look at these idiots at the No Kings rally. But what are they calling for? They're calling for communism. And that's what the Democrats have essentially become. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark on Messenger, and it's a doozy. I mean, he hits the nail right on the head. Jeff, so the Democrats have No Kings rallies, but yet when they get to the airport, they get treated like kings and queens. And during COVID, Jeff, remember, they had access to HCQ and ivermectin, But we were told it was taboo to even talk about it, and if we did, we were thrown off and censored on social media. But yet they call us kings, tyrants, and dictators. Well, Jeff, they can all, can't say this on the air, they can all blank off. Because now I think I'm not even going to vote in the midterms. Mark, I agree with everything until that last final point. We can't have the Democrats come back to power, Mark. I understand you're angry and frustrated. Believe me, I hear you, brother. I'm just as angry and frustrated as you are. But if we stay home, the Democrats win. And you don't want the Democrats to win. It will be the end of Trump's presidency. And it will launch a political civil war in this country. So, no, what we have to do is we got to get rid of John Thune. And by the way, we could do it now. We don't have to wait for 2028 and a primary challenge. All it takes is 5 patriots in the Senate, 5 Republican senators, 5. And if they say we have no more confidence in Thune's leadership, then that will trigger a leadership race. And we can get somebody who'll do a much better job. Hell, we could even have J.D. Vance. The Constitution allows for J.D. as the vice president and effectively the president of the Senate, the leader, the vice president can cast the 50-50 deciding vote if it's a deadlock. He could become Senate Majority Leader as well as vice president. And believe me, with J.D. running the show, all of Trump's agenda gets passed. All of it. All of it. Okay, you don't like J.D. for whatever reason. Rick Scott. Rick Scott is a MAGA conservative. He's on the same page with Trump on 99.9% of the issues. Don't worry, Rick Scott will get it done. What I'm saying is we have options. We're not tethered to John Thune. But the question is there anybody with the stones, the spine, the cojones to stand up and challenge him? 5. We just need 5 patriots. John in Saugus. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Very good. How are you, John?
I want to ask you a question, Jeff.
Yes.
You know a lot about the Russian manifesto, how complete disorder in government and everything else is what they want. And that's what they're trying to do. And people don't understand that. That's the trouble. They don't understand the severity of what communism is. Okay? And now, this Thune person, he's not only betraying us, he's betraying all those Marines that are going over there ready to being slaughtered. Okay? Now, he's not a patriot. He's not even a human being. Okay? And the trouble with these people is they figure when they get in power with the Democrats, they'll be the elite. I got news for them. They're going to be the first ones to go. Because if you can't be trusted with your own, the new regime is not going to trust you either. Am I right or wrong?
Well, John, you're completely right. John, look, I really want to stress this to you and to the audience. Mitch McConnell loved Joe Biden. As an example, Lisa Murkowski loves Joe Biden. John Thune loves Joe Biden. I mean, I could go on and on. Like these people that have been there forever. I'm not joking. Biden was their buddy. Lindsey Graham loved Joe Biden. During the Biden presidency, I kept playing cuts of Lindsey saying, oh, come on, I can work with Biden. Oh, Biden's a reasonable guy. Biden's a moderate. Biden's this, Biden's that. No, because to them, they still have this old-fashioned view that it's a club. It's a club. And yeah, we scratch their back, they scratch our back, they make money, we make money. Hey, come on, this is something we control this. The government's ours. What do you mean the people? So John Thune is not someone who understands the new Democratic Party. He's so disconnected from reality. He's still thinking that old-fashioned, genteel, country club mentality. That, no, come on. Hey, we made money under Biden. Sure, the country went to hell, but, he didn't come after me. He didn't come after Mitch. He didn't come after his, Senate rhino buddies. So our power is going to be safe. Our wealth is going to be safe. So they think that the next Democrat leader is going to be someone from the club. They don't realize AOC is going for their throat. Bernie's going for their throat. Mamdani is going for their throat. This new crop of communist revolutionaries, they're there to destroy the club and hang every single Republican they can find. So you're completely right. Look, this reminds me a lot of the pre-Bolshevik Russia, where the elites were complacent, fat, lazy, out of touch, and they had no idea of the fanaticism that they were about to confront. Okay, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, remains unfunded. It is shut down, while both the House and Senate have now headed off for an incredible 2-week vacation. I don't know what else to tell you. The partial shutdown now, the DHS shutdown, partial government shutdown, is now the longest in American history, with no end in sight. At least another 2 weeks, and God knows how long it's going to continue. So let me ask all of you, what do you think needs to be done? Should Trump now demand that John Thune step down as leader and maybe have J.D. Vance take over, or get someone else who's competent enough and serious enough to do the job? But do you feel now that Thune has betrayed Trump, us, the voters, and the country? 617-266-6868. Just super quick. J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, came out and said that he is now calling on Thune to smash and abolish the filibuster. J.D. said in an interview, it is very obvious, should the Democrats win in November and retake the House and the Senate, they will end the filibuster themselves. And these are J.D.'s words, J.D.'s almost exact words. They will then pack the Supreme Court, abolish the Electoral College, and essentially destroy the United States. In other words, they're going to end the filibuster, and they're going to steal elections to win in November. So either we end it or they end it. And he can't believe that Thune refuses to abolish the filibuster. The SAVE Act, he's not moving on it. DHS, forget not passing a funding bill. He now passed an amendment that got rejected by the House, but it was his amendment, his specific amendment, that defunds all of ICE, Border Patrol, and immigration enforcement. I mean, seriously, with a Republican like this, who needs the Democrats? Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent out in Pittsburgh or the Pittsburgh area, thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Good, Jeff. Jeff, let me tell you something. These rhinos, why don't they just join the Democratic Party, okay? Let me give you a perfect example. This will match up with what you're saying, Jeff. And I don't know how true it is, but to me it sounds pretty true because I'm on the ground here as your correspondent. Senator Fetterman better think about running as an independent, Jeff. My senator that lives across the river from me. Reason being is because the last time I saw polls, and the one I looked at's pretty accurate. It's a Real Clear Politics poll. In the Pennsylvania Real Clear Politics poll, he's only polling at 20%. which means if he, for example, if he was to get primaried by, say, a far-left lunatic like Summer Lee, that congresswoman I mentioned to you about before, he'd get his butt kicked. He needs to run as an independent. Everybody's saying on Facebook, oh, he needs to be a Republican. No, he needs to run as an independent because he's a very independent-minded guy. I don't agree with him on everything, but, Jeff, that's just a forecast of what's coming. And whether we lose the midterms or not, we need to keep one of the houses of Congress, at least, either the Senate or the House itself, Jeff. Because if not, they're going to impeach Trump and they're going to try to convict him. And you know what, Jeff? I even see some of these rhino turncoats like a Thune voting to impeach Trump in the Senate to convict. I'm sorry, in the House they impeach. But that's what it looks like, Jeff.
Well, I think you've laid out the scenario really well, Dave. Like in terms of a crystal ball, I think your crystal ball is pretty clear. If the election was held today, the midterms, the Democrats would get the House and get the Senate. And that's my fear. They don't just win back the House, they win back both chambers of Congress. Now, why? It's your point. They're going to impeach Trump. They're going to find something to impeach him. And if they have 54, 55, seats in the Senate, Thune, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, this clown John Curtis out in Utah, you're already at 60. I know you need 67 to convict. I get it. But, they could hit 60 and keep this thing going higher and higher. Look, Trump has to realize when you're surrounded by Judases, you end up getting crucified. He's not just dealing with the enemies on the left. He's dealing with enemies within his own party. And that's why I'm looking at him and I'm like, Mr. President, it's what you don't see that gets you. He sees the Democrats. I'm not sure anymore if he sees the Republicans who are out to get him just as much as the Democrats are. So I agree with you, Dave. If Republicans lose the Senate in the midterms, it's going to be a catastrophe. Then I really fear for Trump's political survival. So, we'll see, Dave. We shall see. But look, I'm not surprised about Fetterman. The liberals can't stand him. The left reviles him. And they've openly said they're going to primary him. And you're right. He's going to lose a Democratic primary. They're going to wipe him out. And I think his only chance at political survival is to run as an independent. I got to say, though, I've been disappointed with Fetterman on the SAVE Act, on voter ID. He voted against the voter ID bill. He's been consistently against the SAVE Act. So when people say, oh, Fetterman's a Republican, he's not a Republican. He would be a rhino Republican at best. At best. So, no, he's a liberal Democrat. Except the problem now is that a liberal Democrat is too moderate, not extreme enough for a party now that's essentially a communist party. So it's now, the Democrats have now gone so far to the Marxist hard left that a traditional progressive Democrat like Fetterman, he's considered too mild, too moderate, too middle of the road. Dave, final word to you. Am I wrong?
Well, as you always say, you're 1,000% right. And Jeff, as far as this weekend went with these No Kings rallies, let me tell you something, Jeff. And I said it on prior callers. I think I said it last week, Jeff. These people have no shame. They'll cut their throats to give up the big thing. And Jeff, to quote what you said about Judas and it being Holy Week, and by the way, Jesus is my king, God is my king, Jesus is my king, and the Holy Ghost is the beautiful ghost with most, to quote Michael Keaton, Jeff. And just one more point, Jeff. Here's a big thing. They couldn't mine enough silver or gold or enough on the mercantile exchange. See, liberal Democrats, the mercantile exchange is where your raw materials are. I know firsthand. I'm a welder. Second of all, Jeff, they couldn't mine enough gold for Thune or any of these idiots to not turn. I don't trust these people, Jeff. To me, a rhino, they're a Democrat, Jeff. And like you said, Fetterman, I agree somewhat. Where I disagree is that he does have an independent streak, which is good. But like I said, I know the guy personally. I talk to him down here at the waterfront sometimes. He's very nice, easy, very approachable. But you can tell, not knocking him, Jeff, you can tell he did have the stroke by his speech. But to me, Jeff, he's smarter than any Democrat in that Senate or House put together, so.
Well, he's the only one that is willing to put country before party from the Democratic side. And I respect that about him. I do. But no, I think, Dave, they're going to take him out. Believe me, Fetterman's political days are numbered, because this is the future of the future of the Democratic Party is Mamdani, AOC, Bernie, and Elizabeth Warren. That's the future. And Michelle Wu and Karen Bass and it is now a socialist, communist, Marxist, far-left party. And if you don't toe the line, you're out. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want you to listen now. I really feel sorry for the guy. Listen now to President Trump. So obviously he gets the news now that the Senate has now passed this ridiculous bill. They send it to the House. It's been rejected in the House, but the bill freezes out. It cuts all funding. And this is Thune's own personal amendment to the bill. So this is not even the Democrats who did this. It was Thune who did it. Of course, the Democrats loved it, supported it, couldn't believe it. So it cuts all funding to ICE, to Border Patrol, to immigration enforcement. And on top of that, Thune is refusing to move on the SAVE Act. And so Trump is saying, well, look, I've talked to Thune repeatedly, and now his excuse is, well, we don't have the votes to end the filibuster. I mean, I want to, Mr. President. I really do. It's like Judas. I love you, Jesus. He kisses him on the cheek even. Me betray you never. Never. So this is, Judas John Thune. So now this is his shtick. I so want to end the filibuster. You don't know how much I want to end it. It's the Murkowskis. It's the McConnells. I just don't have the votes to end the filibuster. So listen now to Trump's response. Roll cut 2, Mike.
Mr. President, Leader Thune told me that they do not have the votes to terminate the filibuster. How will you get around
that's
that?
part of being a leader. You have to get the votes.
Do you have confidence in Leader Thune?
I like him so much. He's a high-quality person. And he told me the same thing. We don't have the votes. Well, he's only a couple of votes short, but that's what being a leader is. You have to get the votes. You have to get the votes. And those people will not be able to withstand the onslaught because Republicans and the country wants it.
He's completely right. Now, look, he's not trying to throw Thune under the bus, so he's doing the whole, I like him, he's a quality person. It's Washington, D.C., so, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But what he's saying is, hey, look, you're a leader, man. Lead. You're a couple votes short to end the filibuster. Get the votes, end the freaking filibuster. Like, this isn't rocket science. Well, he doesn't have the votes. Well, get the votes. Get it done. Do what you got to do. Make a deal. And in fact, isolate the few Republicans that are not willing to end the filibuster. And he says the public, the voters, the base. He goes, you think they can survive that kind of an onslaught? If the people of Alaska knew it was Murkowski that was standing in the way of ending the filibuster and passing the SAVE Act and everything else, the entire Trump agenda, I mean, politically, she couldn't survive. Susan Collins, ditto. I mean, I could run down the list, whatever, the 3-4 Republican holdouts. So he's like, come on. He's basically saying, come on, show me some balls. Show some balls, for God's sake. Like, do it. Just get it done. That's what a leader does. If you can't get it done, move out of the way and let somebody else who can. Now, listen to Trump again, saying, and he says the one that's killing him. He goes, he doesn't understand why Department of Homeland Security is not funded in the middle of a war against, as I said, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. how we cannot have you paying our Coast Guard, our TSA, our Department of Homeland Security, people that track human trafficking, sex trafficking, cyber attacks. He goes, you're leaving the homeland, our airports, our airlines wide open to potential terrorist attack. But he says the one I just don't get is the SAVE Act. Never has a bill been more popular and more wanted by the country. Across the entire board, Republicans, independents, and Democrats, white, black, Latino, men, women, young, old, gay, straight, I don't care, pick your group. Dominating support, 83, 85, 87%. This is an 85-15 issue. It should be a slam dunk. And instead, he goes, all I get are excuses. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
You know, it's polling at 87% voter ID. Think of it. We're talking about Save America. And it's not Save Act, it's Save America Act. It's just Saving America. Save Act, nobody knows what it's saving. It's the Save America Act. And you have to have it. You have to have it. The Save America Act, voter ID, all of these things, proof of citizenship. It's an 87% issue with all voters, including Democrats. The only ones that don't want it are Schumer and these corrupt Democrat leaders, because it will not give them the ability to cheat in an election. Look, why wouldn't you want voter ID? There's not a reason in the world you wouldn't want it except to cheat. And if they don't cheat, their policy is so bad, they'll never win another election.
He's completely right. It's what we've been saying on this show now for I don't know how long. Their policies are so bad and so radical and so destructive, so unpopular. If they don't cheat, they can't win. What person doesn't want voter ID? So it's obvious. It's so obvious. They're preventing it because they need and they want to cheat. Now, why would John Thune and the Senate Republicans not want to smash the Democrats on this issue? If they can't cheat, they can't win. Look, from a crass political self-interest, don't you want to stay in power? Don't you want to keep getting reelected? Don't you want to remain Senate Majority Leader or all these other? Don't you want to be the head of these committees? Like, hello. You. Does the elevator go to the top? Now, listen to this, okay? Get ready. Please swallow your coffee, swallow your food, because this is gonna be a mind bender. So I don't want you to spit out your coffee or, your egg and ham sandwich. So this is now Thune's brilliant idea on the SAVE Act. This is now what he's proposing to the president with a straight face. By the way, this was before he left on vacation. So he wants to do this when he comes back from his 2-week vacation. All right? So, according to Thune, he says, look, we're not going to end the filibuster. We're just not going to do it. So, the SAVE Act as is will never get 60 votes. So, you can't pass it as is. This is what he told the president to his face. He says, however, I really want to help you out here, Mr. President. And President Trump is like, okay, John, how are you going to help me out? Well, I think we found a way. What we're going to do is we have to scrap the provision that says you have to register, before you can register to vote, you have to show proof of citizenship. According to Thune, that's a non-starter. It's a non-starter because they can't tie it to reconciliation. Reconciliation is anything that involves the budget, whether it's revenue or spending. Anything that involves either taking in money or spending money is called reconciliation. And for reconciliation, you don't need 60 votes. You only need 50 plus J.D. Vance. Okay, 50 plus the tiebreaker. So the Senate parliamentarian is going to come out and say, well, no, requiring people, whether it's a great idea or not, but requiring Americans to register to vote and show proof of citizenship has nothing to do with spending money. Revenue, spending, nothing to do with money or the budget. If it has nothing to do with money or the budget, and honestly it doesn't, then you have to have a 60 vote threshold. You have to, break the filibuster. You can't just do it on 50 plus 1. So Thune says, forget then requiring people to register to vote. That's out. However, on voter ID, well, we can't pass the law as is requiring national voter ID. No. But what we can do is add a pot of money as almost like a carrot or an incentive, and then go to the states and say, if you adopt voter ID, we will pay you X, Y, and Z, a certain amount of money as an incentive to upgrade election integrity and to try to reduce voter fraud and cheating and rigging of elections. But it's voluntary. If the states don't want the money or, don't want to do voter ID, they don't get the money. And if they don't accept the money, we can't force them to adopt voter ID. But by offering them money, that means some of the states probably will adopt some kind of voter ID law. This is his grand solution. So what he wants to do on the SAVE Act, and he wants Trump to sign off on this, is to gut the Save America Act, kill the key provision that requires everyone register to vote, and before they register to vote to show proof of citizenship, which to me is fundamentally necessary to have honest elections, and then essentially offer it like a la carte on a menu. Well, if you want to have voter ID in your particular state and you agree to it, we're going to give you a couple of $1 billion. We'll give you some extra money to, pay for free cards, voter ID cards, and to get it all registered, to get people to register to get the voter ID cards and on and on. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think a corrupt blue state like Massachusetts, just to use Massachusetts as an example, I could go to California, I could go to Minnesota, I could go to Illinois, I could go to New York, I could go to Connecticut or Rhode Island or Washington State or Oregon. But let's just stick to Massachusetts for now. Do you think Maura Healey and the corrupt Democrats on Beacon Hill, you can put $1 billion on the table, $2 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion. You think then they're going to say, yeah, let's adopt voter ID. Yeah. They'll never adopt voter ID. Ever. It doesn't matter how much freaking money you offer them. And Thune knows that. Anybody with half a brain knows that. And neither will Hochul, and neither will Gavin Newsom, and neither will tampon Tim Walz, and neither will that slob Pritzker, and I can run down the whole list. So, yeah, maybe a few red or purple states that still don't have voter ID, yeah, they'll say, sure. I mean, we're planning on doing it anyway. What the hell? Let's get a few $1 billion more in our pocket, into our coffers to do this. But those aren't the places you need the voter ID. You need the voter ID in the blue states because that's where the bulk of the cheating is taking place. This is his grand proposal. Judas. And he's working. And by the way, do you know who's working Trump hard to sell this so-called plan? Lindsey Graham. I know he was in Disney World with the bubble wand there. They caught him, okay? Over the weekend. There he is with the bubble wand. But when he's not at Disney World with his little bubble wand, He's been lobbying Trump, saying it's the best that we can do. We can get it done through reconciliation, and this way we can get a couple of states to maybe adopt voter ID. Mr. President, this is a win. Take the win. So Lindsey Graham is working with John Thune to stick it to MAGA, stick it to the base, stick it to Trump, and stick it to the country. Again, with, and I'm putting this in air quotes, with friends like this, who needs enemies? Agree, disagree. So let me ask you, let me put this mother log on the fire. Should Trump now accept the John Thune, Lindsey Graham, watered down Save America Act proposal that would abolish the key provision of requiring that you have to register to vote? You have to show proof of citizenship before you can register to vote. That would force all the states to purge their voting rolls. That has to go as well. But financially induce states to have a voter ID law. But it's all voluntary. If they don't want to take it, they don't take it. I say it's insulting. I think it's horrible policy. I think it doesn't address the central issue, which is the massive corruption and fraud in our elections. This is simply trying to put a face-saving Band-Aid instead of actually fixing the problem. And they're trying to bamboozle Trump and the public, and that we should not fall for it. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Alan in Peabody. Thanks for holding, Alan, and welcome.
Like a guy that's at the end of a bar that's had about 5 too many. I'm telling you, old man, the way you talk, everyone's a communist. Absolutely ridiculous. I feel like I'm listening to Joe McCarthy or Father Coughlin. Remember Father Coughlin? Do you remember him? Did you ever listen to tapes of him?
Actually, no. I was born in 1969.
No. Did you ever listen to tapes?
I never listened to tapes of Father Coughlin. His stuff in the 1930s. By the way, Coughlin was a rabid anti-Semite and a Jew hater. And that's the last thing I am. Besides being an economic, he was also an economic illiterate. But I don't follow you. You're saying that I sound like a guy who's had 5 drinks too many at the bar. What have I said that makes me sound like I've had 5 drinks too many at the bar?
You support a felon rapist as president, that he can do no wrong. We're stuck in a war, all right?
Okay, let's leave the war aside for a second. You said he's a fellow rapist. Well, where was he convicted of rape?
Adjudicated. Let's put that word in. Adjudicated.
It was a civil trial. It was a civil trial where they didn't even say the word rape, from a woman who's severely mentally ill, if you know anything about her, who has accused dozens of men of raping her, who said in an interview with CNN, openly saying, I fantasize about being raped. And most women fantasize about being raped. Who got the idea that Trump raped her at Macy's from a show on Law and Order, and that the leftist judge wouldn't admit into evidence because he wanted the jury to rule against Trump. So he's not a rapist. He's not been found guilty of rape. The woman is a stone cold liar. And the fact that you believe her, I'll be honest, shows to me you're the one with Trump derangement syndrome. You're the one 5 drinks too many at the bar. I'm just being honest with you. Now, you didn't complain about Joe Biden when he digitally raped that Senate staffer. When she said repeatedly, he digitally raped me. You didn't say a word about Joey. That was okay. Or when his own daughter, in her own diary, Ashley Biden, said that he took inappropriate showers and sexually molested her at the age of 11. No, that you don't mention. 5 drinks at the bar. But Trump, on this BS accusation that would be laughed out of any other courtroom except in Manhattan, that you charge the president with. And you're calling me a McCarthyite? Come on, get serious, dude. Hello? Do you have anything more?
Yeah, the war. All right? How about that? All right? Everyone goes like lackeys and sheep supporting the war. Trump started no new wars. I used to see that on social media in his first term. Now in his second term, he goes in Iran, and now everyone's supporting him like lackeys. How ridiculous is that? Now he's stuck in a quagmire.
What's my position on the war? Alan, hello?
What?
What's my position on the war?
Who knows? You're a lackey, just like Trump.
There you go. Well, I'm against the war.
Oh, good.
Well, hold on. You just told me I was. Hold on. Are you on your 6th or 7th? Hold on. Are you on your 6th or your 7th drink now? I can't keep up with you anymore. You said I'm a lackey for Trump and that I supported the war. And I told you I'm opposed to the war. I opposed it on day one. So how about you give me an apology because you don't know what you're talking about? Now, let me ask you this. Here's the final coup de grace, as the French would say. Okay? You don't know French, so I'll explain it to you. It means the final blow. Okay? And by the way, have a double on the rocks. Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York. Commie, not a commie. AOC, a member of the Democrat Socialists of America.
Okay, Father Coughlin.
I know. Father Coughlin. I told you I can't stand Father Coughlin. The fact is, AOC is a communist. Bernie's not a communist? No? Not a communist? Mamdani's not a communist? Elizabeth Warren is not a communist? You want me to keep going? So, the Democratic Party is a radical far-left party. That's a fact. In fact, look it up. In New York, on No King's Rally, there was a sea of red hammer and sickle flags. Democrats were marching side by side with the Communist Party of the United States. It's on freaking video. It's been reported by dozens of media outlets. And you know what they chanted? The only solution is communist revolution.
Go ahead. Come on, Joe McCarthy.
Actually, Joe McCarthy on many issues was right. There were a lot of communists in the State Department.
There you go.
Yes, he was right. Pick up a book and read. You may learn something. And sober up, for God's sake. Come on now. You see what I got to do to make a living, Mike? Hold on, we're on? Okay. 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, JD on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, JD, and welcome.
Good morning, Professor Kuhner. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, JD.
That last caller proves liberalism is a mental disorder, without a fact. But, Jeff, earlier you had mentioned Vice President J.D. Vance. You quoted him saying that Democrats protect and coddle illegal aliens.
Yes.
And I'd like to take a 30,000-foot view of this issue. It's what's destroying our country. It's what's dividing America. And why? Why do they protect and coddle? I'm going to tell you. We went through 4 years of wide open borders, 20 million unvetted, let me stress that, unvetted, illegal aliens poured into our country. The Democrats set up blue sanctuary cities. They're protected from ICE. They don't cooperate with ICE. They shower them with lavish welfare benefits that are paid for by the American citizen, taxpayer. Why do they do that? And this is just my personal view, and I'm looking at it like, doesn't anybody else see this? The U.S. Census counts every single person, regardless whether they're a citizen or a non-citizen. If you have a pulse, you count it in the census. The census then determines how many seats are in the House and the Senate in a particular voting district in a state. This is a scheme that runs deep within the Democrat Party. Flood the country with illegals, set up areas where they're protected, give them lavish welfare benefits, and you have a perpetual voting base. That's why they're against the SAVE Act. That's why they're against voter ID. That's why they're against ICE. That's why they want the illegal aliens like a protection bubble for the Democrat Party. It gives them more seats. It gives them more power and a perpetual voting class that they feed off of our taxes. Meanwhile, American citizen, law-abiding American citizens are being killed. Every week there's another news story. Innocent person shot in the head. People dying from fentanyl that is being used and sold by these illegals. Drunk driving illegals. It's just on and on. And you scratch your head. Why do they protect and coddle illegals? It's not just the Democrats, Jeff. It's the Uniparty. If you said earlier, well, why doesn't Thune want to stay in power? Jeff, it's a game. It's a charade. We don't have a democratic republic in this country anymore. It's gone. It's been taken over by the deep state, and it's real, and it's disgusting. Our founding fathers did not envision what our country has become and what it is. And it's blatantly disgusting that a political party in America today is protected by the media when it comes to illegal aliens. And all these rallies with the people going, oh, there's no one's illegal. America was founded on stolen land. So what? We're not a sovereign country? Just anybody can come here? That's ludicrous. That's crazy. That will destroy us. It is destroying us. And I don't think I'm the only one that sees this.
JD,
what is...
JD, look, I got to say, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The way you laid it out so clearly and coherently and simply and logically and profoundly. Really, honestly, one of the best calls I've ever had. No, the country is with you. The country sees it. That's why the country voted for Trump. Again, I'm not a big fan of him, but, stop clock is right twice a day. Mike Johnson literally said that at his press conference a couple days ago. He said, why do you think I'm House Speaker? He openly said it. He goes, why do you think we have the majority? Because the American people rejected Biden's open border and 20 million dangerous criminal, illegal aliens pouring into our country. Like, he just was shell-shocked that John Thune would even agree to send over a bill that cuts Border Patrol, ICE, and immigration enforcement. Zero funding, zero. Freezes out all money. He's like, this is political suicide. Like, he goes, I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. So you're completely right. And look, I just want to add to what you're saying. To show how much the Democrats want the border reopened and how they prioritize and they want to protect dangerous criminal illegal aliens over American citizens. Listen to this. This is how insane this has all become. In the sanctuary city of New York, just last week, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg offered an absurdly lenient 6-month plea deal to a transgender illegal alien who raped a 14-year-old boy after following him into a bathroom. 6 months for a transgender illegal alien from Colombia for after having raped a 14-year-old boy. I mean, it's sick, it's immoral, it's treason, it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal. Okay, just give you example after example after example. Let me just give you one more. So I mentioned Alvin Bragg, Manhattan's district attorney, which is a deal that has shocked even the moonbats in New York. Okay? Even the crazy lunatics, left-wing lunatics in Manhattan. So he offered a 6-month plea deal. 6 months. That's it. That's what you get. 6 months in jail. Probably out in 3 months for good behavior. To a transgender illegal who followed and raped a 14-year-old boy in a bathroom. So according to the Department of Homeland Security, Nicole Alexandra Contreras Suarez, 31, from Colombia, was, quote, let into our country by the Biden administration. And then this is the part that gets me. Not only was he allowed in illegally, but then he was released from jail. He was arrested for armed robbery. Knowing he was an illegal, they let him out. He was then arrested again. Assault with a dangerous weapon. They let him out. They arrested him again for prostitution. They let him out. Again and again and again. Now, this danger, as Miranda Devine points out in her brilliant column in the New York Post, this dangerous pervert should never have been allowed into our country in the first place to commit these heinous, despicable crimes. And yet, like every other illegal alien, and that was JD's point, and he's 1,000% correct, every one of these predators who ends up killing, murdering, raping innocent Americans is protected and coddled by Democrats. Now, on what planet should a rapist, never mind a child rapist, be given 6 months? But that's what the Democrats do to, as Chris Murphy, the senator of Connecticut, said, the most important group that we care about are the illegal aliens. Or as he put it, the undocumented immigrants. That's for us the group that we care most about. To the point, you rape a 14-year-old boy. Okay, well, you got to give him something. You can't just slap him on the wrist and let him out. It is a rape of a child. 6 months. 3 months with good behavior. That tells you everything you need to know. That was an innocent boy. That was an American citizen. That could have been my boy. That could have been your boy. And I think JD nailed it. The more illegals pour in, the more congressional representation. The more power in the House of Representatives. The more power in the Electoral College. More votes to help them win presidential elections. And the big one, you give them all the welfare in the world. Taxpayer money. You give them free health care, free public housing, free EBT, food stamps, subsidized heating. You name it, they get it. Even in Massachusetts, they get free furniture, I swear to you. Costing $70,000, $80,000 per illegal a year. A year. Because ultimately, that's your voting base. That's why they don't want voter ID. That's why they don't want the SAVE Act. That's why the Democrats this is the political hill they are willing to die on. Now, I understand it from their point of view. Sick, grotesque, immoral, evil, unconscionable as it is. Because we're not just talking about stealing money, which is bad. Don't get me wrong. But they're actively turning a blind eye, even allowing the murder and slaughter and rape of innocent Americans. I mean, you're sick. You're sick. Okay, you have no humanity as far as I'm concerned. But what I don't get are the Republicans. That's the part I don't get. The ones I don't get are the McConnells and the John Thunes and the Lindsey Grahams and the Lisa Murkowskis and the Susan Collins. Those are the ones I know they're getting paid. I understand they're paid to lose. But again, it's Judas. I've never understood Judas. So what? You got your 30 pieces of silver. And, by the way, 30 pieces of silver in those days was a lot of money. You know, to us, we're thinking, oh, it's 30 pieces of silver. It's nothing. No. It would be the equivalent of like millions of dollars in today's money. It was a ton of cash. For the time, it was a lot. You've lost your soul. You know, as Shakespeare said, what does it benefit a man to win the world but lose his soul in the process? Or, sorry, to gain the world, but to lose your soul in the process. I mean, so John Thune, you go home to your mansion in South Dakota and you party for 2 weeks, okay? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? And so that, to me, is even more unforgivable. It's that they stab you, your own stab you right, not even in the back anymore. Now it's in the chest. 617-266-6868. Barbara in the Freedom State, Florida. Thanks for holding, Barbara, and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi, Barbara.
So you said that we needed 51. It has to be fiduciary for it to be go to the 51, correct?
Yes, it's called reconciliation, budgetary. It has to either have a revenue or spending involved.
Revenue and spending, because you just said how much money we waste on illegals. So why can't the Republicans do a workaround like the Democrats always do? And then also, Thune, I don't know whether people should protest in front of his house, whether they should inundate him with just calls. And I don't know if they ever had souls, because you can't think that someone that had 6 months for raping someone who's probably let out right now because he was in jail is okay. Even the poor 18-year-old girl, she was in the wrong place. How was she in the wrong place when Pritzker did a big, huge video of how safe it was? It's disgusting. But I actually think that it is fiduciary. And I do think that it has to do with money. And if that's the workaround, then do it.
Well, look, Barbara, as usual, you're making complete sense. But I would go even one level further, even step further than you. I'm with J.D. Vance on this. Just end the filibuster. We don't have to even play games. You know, what's a reconciliation, what's not, what's budgetary, what's not, because I don't want to get into the weeds. But there's a person called the Senate parliamentarian who actually wields a tremendous amount of power. It's basically a civil servant. And that person decides what can be in a bill, what cannot be a bill for reconciliation. In other words, what can be for 60 votes and what can be for 51 votes. And the sense is that on this piece of the Save America Act, about showing proof of citizenship to register to vote, that it's a woman, she's gonna say, no, it's not budgetary or fiduciary, as you put it. It's policy, and if it's policy, you need 60 votes. So to take it out of the hands of the Senate parliamentarian, to take it out of everybody's hands, just abolish the filibuster. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the Dems are going to do it anyway. So if I know that someone, look, Barbara, if someone is going to come to your house with a machine gun and massacre you and your family, to me, my answer is, well, you get your machine gun before he gets his machine gun. Like, of course. I mean, what are we arguing? No, but the deal says it's only knives and brass knuckles. Well, no, he's going to go with a machine gun. He's told you, forget the deal. He's ending the long agreement you guys have had. Forget knives and brass knuckles. You have a knife and a brass knuckle, that machine gun will kill you. So you need to get the machine gun before he gets his machine gun. So basically what J.D. Vance is saying, we have to abolish the filibuster before they do. Because once they abolish the filibuster, they're going to mow everything down. So I would just say end the filibuster. Now, if Thune won't do it, leadership challenge, 5 senators, just 5, need to say we want a new Senate majority leader. Okay, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who will get blamed for Congress's failure to fund the Department of Homeland Security? So who's going to, not who should, who do you think will get the blame for Congress's failure to fund DHS? A, Democrats. B, Republicans. C, President Trump. Let me do it again. A, Democrats. B, Republicans. C, President Trump. Now, who should be blamed? 1,000% the Democrats. There's no question. But the low information voter out there, the media lies and propaganda, as the Russians would say, and the way the Republicans in Congress are just blowing the messaging on this, and what Thune has now done with that insane bill that he tried to get passed that was rejected by the House, I think it's going to be President Trump. Either the Republicans B or President Trump C, or both. But I think they're going to ultimately try to blame it on Trump, and I think sadly he's going to end up getting the blame. The guy who's innocent is the one that's going to get blamed. Anyway, if I was to vote in this poll, it would be C for the Kuhner man. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X. I was very active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in national ER. Okay, just very quickly, a good friend of mine sent me a text on my private phone, and here's what he said. Jeff, what prison sentence would you expect if a white male, say maybe a Marine veteran, raped an illegal migrant girl in a public bathroom? A 14-year-old girl, like that boy that was raped by that transgender illegal alien in New York. How many decades in prison would he get? What's your guess? And while off air, I texted my friend back, 30 years minimum. And he wrote back, spot on. Let me ask you. A white male Marine veteran rapes a 14-year-old illegal alien girl in a public bathroom, follows her, and then rapes her. What do you think? 30, 40, 50 years? It wouldn't be 6 months. It wouldn't be 6 years. It wouldn't even be 16 years. So there you go. Right there. You can see how Democrats favor, prioritize, and protect and coddle illegal aliens over American citizens. 617-266-6868. Tim in South Dennis. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Good morning. I love you in a non-sexual manner. And after that caller from Peabody, I think I need my 5th drink right about now. And I don't even drink.
Tim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Well, the first thing, what's really disgusting about all this with DHS unfunded, I mean, it's bad enough when no one gets a paycheck, but most especially our Coast Guard. And I'll explain why. I mean, right now, a lot of people don't know. They have people in the Middle East in the war zone. There's a group of them attached to the 5th Fleet in Bahrain They're out there to provide small boat experience the Navy doesn't have, plus apparently boarding parties. But, I mean, I don't know about all the states that the Coast Guard is in, but I know like Massachusetts, it's so expensive. A lot of young Coast Guardsmen and their families, when they get stationed here, it's bad enough not getting a check. It's so expensive. A lot of them end up on public assistance. But now they add insult to injury. They're not even getting paid. And unlike TSA or the other agencies where, hey, you know, if you don't want to wait for a paycheck, you can quit, go find another job. They don't get to do that. They're still under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, one thing I was thinking, they can be put under the Department of the Navy in a time of war. I'm wondering if Donald Trump could do that, switch while we're in this war in the Middle East, switch them under the Department of the Navy so at least maybe they could get a paycheck or get it from somewhere, because that's just not right. They still have their job to do on top of everything else. I mean, in a shooting war where people have already died, have already been wounded, and I mean, just to get it out of the way, I don't like wars myself. I mean, I'm not a combat veteran, but I've seen what it does to people, and it's not like the movies. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're in this thing now, so at the very least, we can support the people that are out there in the middle of this, fighting this war.
Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely. As I like to say, you're not 100% correct. You're 1,000% correct. And look, you know, you mentioned the Coast Guard. I mean, they work for little money. They work for peanuts. They're so underappreciated. What they do is so vital, so important to protecting the homeland from terrorists, from drug smugglers, from sex traffickers, rescuing Americans who fall off boats or whatever. I could go on and on. And you're right. You're absolutely right. There is a contingent to the Coast Guard that's now involved in the war in Iran. So they got to worry about their lives and, you know, saving themselves or watching out for themselves and their fellow sailors in the Navy, and they're not even getting paid. I mean, this is beyond, I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. It's beyond outrageous. And I love your idea of putting them under the Navy so at least they'll get a paycheck. But look, Tim, this is what I find a little bit, and it's not you, believe me, it's not you, but just upsetting about the whole conversation. Like, why are we allowing the Democrats to hold us hostage? You know, Trump rightly said they're terrorists. Like, in other words, like terrorists, they're holding the country and our security hostage. Now, I'm sorry, but they lost the election. Elections have consequences, their words. They lost the House, they lost the Senate, they lost the presidency. You lost. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Now, we're in the middle of a major war that's escalating. I'm just stating facts. That Americans are dying and hundreds have been wounded. Some of them will be permanently maimed or crippled. These are just facts. And in the middle of a war with the largest state sponsor, the greatest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, that has called for a holy war against the United States. Fact, fact, fact. That says they have sleeper cells in our country. That now says they're activating these sleeper cells. And the Department of Homeland Security is shut down because the Democrats won't fund it? Because they want to impose massive restrictions on ICE to appease their radical left communist base? And we got to now play games? The president's got to sign an executive order to pay TSA agents out of unused government funds? And now we have you, and I'm not criticizing you. I think it's an ingenious idea, but it's almost like, Jeff, you know, pretty please. How do we help the fellow Coast Guard? Let's put them under the Navy, maybe under the Navy. Trump can finesse it and get a couple of paychecks through, and we're begging for crumbs off the table? President Trump needs to tell the Democrats, F off. I'm sorry, blank off. And he needs to address the country 9 p.m. and say, I will not accept the Department of Homeland Security to be shut down by the Democrats. This is a Democrat shutdown. They're putting our Coast Guard, their lives in jeopardy, the homeland in jeopardy, our airport and airline security in jeopardy, all of us in jeopardy. And in the middle of a war. And this is unacceptable. Do you understand that? Unacceptable. I'm demanding you all come back from your vacations and you give me a bill now. Period. Full stop. And stay on this issue and not let it go. Shame them day after day after day after day. In other words, run a PR war against the Democrats. I don't understand these Republicans. Honest to God, Tim, I don't get them. I don't get them. Listen, politics is a contact sport. It just is. That's what politics is. In every country. It's not just the United States. Okay? It's a rough and tumble game. Because the stakes are very high and you're dealing with serious, profound values and interests and in many ways the future of your country. Now, it's time to start playing hardball, man. Now, Trump should call John Thune and say, get your ass out of South Dakota. Okay? I don't know what horse you're riding or what you're drinking. Get your ass out of there. All of you are coming back. You're going to give me a bill that funds ICE, funds the border, funds immigration enforcement, and I don't care how you get it done. Because this is not acceptable, especially in a time of war. This is treason. In a time of war, this is a betrayal and treason. Now, get your ass out of there and come back to D.C. and do your blanking job. By the way, Trump's not taking a vacation. I mean, to give him, you can say whatever you want about him. He's working 18, 20 hours a day. He's burning the midnight oil. He's not off on a 2-week Easter break. So I don't get it. You guys are off on another break? I thought you just came back from the previous break. How many breaks you guys going to take? So, Tim, the gloves have to come off. They have to come off. And I understand, look, he's a dealer. He's a businessman. He wants to make a deal. He doesn't want to burn Thune because he's got to work with Thune. I get it. So when he says, oh, I like Thune and he's a talented guy, blah, 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 but he's got to get tougher. He's too soft. I think there's a certain, maybe have your vice president do it then if you want to do the good cop, bad cop routine. But someone's got to someone's got to put Thune in his place. Let J.D. Vance say, hey, look, if he can't do it, I'll do it. If he can't do the job, I will do the job. So to John Thune, either you step down or you get abolish the filibuster and let's get everything passed. In other words, fish or cut bait. If you're up for it or you're not up for it. And if you're not up for it, be a backbencher from South Dakota. I don't care. But he's got to look, Tim, we can see how this movie ends if we stay on this path. What the Democrats are now doing, it's deliberate, to sow chaos. That's why they did the 2020 riots, the George Floyd riots. It was to sow chaos, to make Trump seem incompetent, to make Trump seem as if he was someone who had lost control over the government and the country, to wound him and defeat him in the election. They have shut the government down. The Democrats have now shut the government down. Listen to this. Not once, not twice, 3 times in the last 6 months, Tim. 3 times in 6 months. And one was a full-blown government shutdown that lasted over 40 freaking days. Why? To damage the economy and sow chaos and a sense of anarchy and panic in the country. Nothing seems to be working. Everything is shut down. long lines at the airport. People aren't getting paid. It's all Trump's fault. You allow this to fester and fester and fester. It's going to be a bloodbath in November. So he still has time to win the midterms. I believe that. He still has time to turn all this around. But you got to smash the Democrats. Like, enough is enough. Break them, man. And you can only break them when you stand up to the traitors in your own party. And you got to now tell them. Listen, it's very simple now. It's either us or bust. It's either my way or the highway. In other words, someone needs to pick up the phone and tell John Thune, hey, look, John, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way, you get to stay in power. The hard way, you're gone. Now, John, how do you want to play this, John? It's up to you. Because the American people are against you on this issue. The Republican Party base is against you on this issue. MAGA, 78 million of us, is against you on this issue. So, dude, you got a problem. I'm the president of the United States. I'm calling in my chips. End the DHS shutdown now, abolish that filibuster, and pass the SAVE Act. And let's save our country. And if you're not up to do it, if you don't have the balls to do it, that's no problem. JD does. Or Rick Scott does. Or there's many others that are more. Eric Schmidt from Missouri, Josh Hawley from Missouri. I can name you many. So if you don't have the cojones, they have the cojones. Man up, cowboy up, as they say. Tim, final word to you. I mean, am I wrong? Is the Kuhner man wrong on this?
Oh, no, absolutely not. He's got to do that. And what I'd like to encourage everybody to do, besides melting down the lines of these idiots who are holding this out, every Friday, let's make it a Red Friday. Red standing for Remember Everybody Deployed. If everybody could wear something red on that day, just to show you support our fighting men and women. Even if it's your socks or a pair of boxer shorts. I mean, Jeff, maybe Mrs. Kuhner could stop by Marshall's for you on the way home, or, if you don't have anything. But, to anybody out there, whether you favor that or not, let's at least show we support our people that are there, and definitely get on these idiots.
Oh, I love it. Tim, I love it. And I want to thank you for your service, Tim. I know you disparage yourself a little bit when you say, well, I'm not a combat veteran. No. You volunteered to join knowing it could have led you to combat, meaning you were willing, able, and ready to put your life on the line for this country. And you have no idea what a man that is and how much I respect that. So really, my highest compliments to you. And I really mean that. Thank you for your service. All of you. I don't care if you've seen combat or not. You're willing to put your life on the line for this country. That's a very special kind of American. And we should remember them every day. And that's why, to be honest, I want this war to end as quickly as possible. I want it to end decisively. I want this to be a victory for the United States. Obviously, I would never root for the mullahs. And I hope not a single soldier from this point forward is killed or wounded. I want our men and women home safe. Period. That to me is all that matters. 617-266-6868. Kathy in Danvers. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
To run for the Senate.
Pardon me, Kathy?
You need to run for the Senate. You would be an asset to this country.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. My wife will never let me.
Well, we need more passionate people like you.
My kids wouldn't let me. My wife wouldn't let me. My in-laws wouldn't let me.
Oh, well, I'm too old, but man, you're a perfect candidate.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Kathy. I really do. Mike and Sandy would be all for it. They could they could get rid of me that way. They'd be like, "Yeah, run, Jeff, run, Jeff."
Oh my God,
Kathy, tell me what do you make of all this?
From you, and one of the major things I learned was to follow the money. So whenever somebody comes up, I check their net worth, and soon. In Forbes magazine for 24 going into 25 is worth $3 million, primarily derived from his long career in government. But in 2022, he was only worth $741,000. If these numbers are right that I'm reading, how do you attain that much money that fast? And shouldn't there be an audit on any senator that becomes millionaires while in the Senate to make sure the money is coming from legitimate places? You know it, and I know it. John Thune's been paid off big time.
Oh, no question. Oh, no question. And you're right. There should be an audit. Whenever you see senators or members of Congress, I don't care if it's Thune, McConnell, Ilhan Omar, Elizabeth Warren, I could run down Ed Markey. You run down the whole list. Okay, my friends, the best way to listen to the Kuhner Report is on the iHeartRadio app. And now we're launching something brand new. Kuhner's Talk Back Tit for Tat. Just look for the red microphone in the upper right corner of the app. Leave a message for me or for Sandy and for Mike. Agree, disagree, respond, react, anything goes. Leave your talkbacks anytime during the week. And every Monday in the final segment, we're going to play the best ones on the air. So download the iHeart app, hit that red mic, and join Kuhner's Talkback Tit for Tat. Rob in Milton. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff.
Rob.
I'm on the corner of L and East Broadway in South Boston, engaging the young folks into dialogue of why they shouldn't quit on America. So, it's been fantastic. I have a plan for you, Jeff, let's pull ICE out of the airports, and what we do is we put roadblocks on all federal roads going into Boston, okay? Not roadblocks, but checkpoints. And so if all the terrorists want to be led around Boston, we just announce who they are in the city of Boston. Good luck, folks. You voted for them. You got them.
Well, Rob, let me ask you this. From the people that you're talking about, that you're talking to on the streets, what are they saying about the long lines at the airports? I know it's eased a lot now since Trump signed that executive order and TSA agents are getting back pay, but still, the fact that the government, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is still shut down. We're in the middle of a war, and thousands of DHS officials, no paycheck. Coast Guard, no paycheck. Many support staff for ICE and Border Patrol, no paycheck. Are they worried that terrorists can sneak into our country? And we have basically DHS that is, basically shut down. Are they concerned that the Democrats are playing with our safety, that they're being reckless and irresponsible, or do they just not care?
Talking about issues that affect them only. Cost of daycare, affordability, housing, security for their kids. I will go deeper on them because I asked the question, what's the number one issue that will keep you up at night? Once we get past the baby carriages and the women are a little more open than the guys, but the guys will come out and say, I'm a conservative, I get you. So I give them a couple. I have a sign that says these are all the issues that voters have brought up, and they just point at them, whether it's voter integrity, immigration, safety and security, jobs, all that stuff, health care. It doesn't get the wars only come up, Jeff, in the last couple of weeks, no matter where I am. If I'm in East and West Bridgewater, if I'm over in Walpole or down in Hull, That's only come up, and it's always the same thing. Trump started a war. I said, well, we always got to start the movie at the beginning, so this should have been handled 47 years ago. You can't even get by it with the most of the moon bats out there, okay? I wear a body camera to let them know that I am recording it, and they get all crazy with that. I said, no, I'm not going to use it. I just don't want to misquote you, and I'll give it back to you. Here's a card, whether you're a Democrat or anybody else. You got to open their mind up like a can of tuna fish, and I tell them who I am, why I'm running, why they should support me. And once you get by the emotional, I call it the empathy overload, which leads into the toxic belief system programs, then they can sort of settle down. By that time, they're running for the door or they call me names, whatever, normal stuff, Jeff. I'm so used to it. I'm looking forward to it. But the young people are interesting. They are following it, but they're more concerned with the economic status with AI. And like I said, I'm coming up with a program called Boxer Works, making Brockton the manufacturing hub down in MA8, creating between 21 to 41,000 new jobs, and that includes daycare as well as housing, you know. So they know it's there, and they don't like it. They don't like the lying, cheating, and stealing either, or no responsibility by these people. These adults have taken the money and run for the hills.
Well, you know, Rob, it's funny because we have quite a strong, I don't know why, I wish they would call in more often, but they're definitely listening. There's no question about it because they email me all the time or text me or message me. But so we have a lot of listeners who are in their 20s and 30s. And overwhelmingly, it's exactly what you were saying. They're worried about the cost of living, affordability, AI taking their jobs. They can't afford a home. They think that buying a home now, because home ownership has now become so expensive, you know, in the greater Boston area and other cities around the country as well. But they're just like, Jeff, I will never have the American dream. It just seems like it's out of reach for me. And many of them are saying, we're just focusing now on economic survival. So for a while it was immigration, but that's because Trump has sealed that border, God bless him. And he's still, you know, he's got Tom Homan and ICE agents going around deporting illegals. So that issue now is a little bit more on the back burner for younger voters. But right now for them, it's the economy. It's inflation, cost of living, affordability, owning a home, and they're very worried about AI taking their job. They're very worried. So there's a lot of economic insecurity out there. So I hear you, Rob. It's keeping them up at night. And soon it's going to keep me up at night because I got two kids, both teenagers now, but they'll be working in a couple of years. Okay, here is the cherry on top. Okay, on top of, you want to see how insane and radical and heartless the Democrats have become? This is Larry on Messenger. Jeff, have you mentioned that the Democrats are suing Trump to prevent him from paying these TSA agents? No, Larry, but I am now. You can't make this up. You literally can't make this up. So these Democrat scumbag politicians don't go through TSA screening, so they don't wait for hours and hours. Oh, no. They bypass all the TSA screening with their VIP escorts. They're all on a 2-week vacation, leaving us holding the bag. And the only guy who's done something is Trump, paying these poor TSA agents, who, by the way, on average make $46,000 a year. So they're not living high on the hog. They have missed 2 paychecks. 2 paychecks. 500 have already quit because they're tired now. These are 3 Democrat government shutdowns in 6 months. They can't pay the rent. They can't pay their food. They can't pay their utilities. They're done. And so to alleviate the pressure, so these poor TSA agents stop calling in sick because they're not getting paid, Trump says, listen, I don't care. I'm going to go executive order, unused government funds. I'm going to pay them. And the Democrats are suing Trump. They're trying to prevent TSA agents from getting paid. So that's how much they care about you, about airline security, and about these poor guys and poor women who are just trying to, provide security so a crazy Islamic terrorist doesn't blow up a plane. Now, I'll tell you this. These, the Chuck Schumers of the world and the Hakeem Jeffries of the world, the Nancy Pelosi's, they get their paychecks. Always. You and me, not so much. 617-266-6868. Bill in Sudbury. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bill.
Here's the part I don't understand. You won. You got your way. You didn't want this bill to pass, and it didn't pass, and yet you're still pissed. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't know if I should just hang up on you. I don't know if you're trolling or if you really don't quite comprehend. I don't know, Mike. What do you think? I don't know if you're playing games with me. So let me try to explain it. What the hell? 20 seconds. I think you're talking about the Thune Schumer bill that was rejected by the House. Let me ask you, it does not fund ICE. It does not fund Border Patrol. It does not fund immigration enforcement. It freezes out all money for that. It would effectively, if passed, reopen the border like it was under Biden, and not a single dangerous criminal illegal alien would be deported. So I want to ask you, do you support not funding ICE and Border Patrol? Yes or no?
You got your way.
Okay,
you
listen,
yet-
Bill. I am in favor of ICE and Border Patrol and immigration enforcement being funded. This bill doesn't do that. That's why the House rejected it, and they should have rejected it. I want all of the Department of Homeland Security, including ICE and Border Patrol, to be funded. It doesn't do that. So I didn't get my way. I don't know what you're talking about. My question to you is a very simple one. The bill that the Democrats sent to the House, your party that you support, wants to reopen the border. They want to return to what it was under Joe Biden. I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you want to see Biden's open border brought back? Do you think we should reopen the border and allow millions and millions more of illegal aliens to pour into our country unvetted, and that dangerous criminal illegals should not be deported? Yes or no?
Yes, the bill you hate.
Okay.
Why are you still pissed?
Okay. What did you just say? I'm sorry, what?
Why are you still pissed?
Oh,
you
my
got
God.
your way. You won. And you're still pissed.
Are you that stupid? Listen to me. Are you that stupid? What did I get? The bill doesn't fund ICE. It doesn't fund Border Patrol. How is that a win for me or for the country? Now, I've asked you politely 3 times, you imbecile. 3 times. Do you support not funding ICE and Border Patrol? Do you support reopening the border? Because that's what the Thune Schumer bill would do. Yes or no? And all you keep telling me like a robot, like a mindless zombie, is, oh, you got what you want. You got what you want. You got what you want. I didn't get what I want. What I want is the House bill, which funds all of the Department of Homeland Security, which the Democrats are rejecting again and again. This is a Democrat shutdown. They won't fund the Department of Homeland Security. They won't fund ICE. My question to you, very simple. Are you saying you don't want ICE funded? Is that what you're saying? Hello?
Compromise in order to proceed. What you're talking about is
no. Do what compromise? No. What compromise? That ICE is not funded? That's your compromise?
Schumer. All Chuck Schumer has to say is, I'm in favor of this, and you guys automatically have to oppose it.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Listen, dude, I'm serious. Like, listen, buddy, nobody's that stupid, Bill. With all due respect.
You are.
No, you are. No, I'm telling you, you're an idiot. So, all Schumer has to say it. Turn him down. All Schumer has to say is, I support it. The bill does not support ICE, Border Patrol, or immigration enforcement. There's zero money. In other words, it's a return to the Biden policy. That's why the House Republicans said it's dead on arrival. So I don't know what you're talking about. It gives me everything I want. No, it doesn't. Then suddenly, just because Schumer's for it, you're against it. No, I'm not you. That's what you Democrats do. If Trump is for it, you're against it. If he has a cure for cancer, you say, oh, look at the people he's putting out of work. So I've asked you now, and again, I'm trying to have a discussion with you, but it's impossible. So do you favor not supporting ICE? Do you favor no funding for ICE, no funding for the Border Patrol, no funding for immigration enforcement? And you can't give me a straight answer. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste my time anymore. What's the point? 617-26. This is what I'm talking about. These are the morons that are going to vote for the Democrats in November. Like what? You know, you got everything that you wanted. Well, actually, no, I didn't. Well, you just don't want to compromise. Well, it doesn't fund ICE. It reopens the border. There's no border protection. There's no border patrol. There's nothing. Well, you need to compromise. So you want open borders? Is that what you want? You just hate it because Schumer's for it. Oh, my God. Like, seriously, dude. This is, forget zero IQ. We're in negative territory. And the scary thing is, there are millions of crazy moonbats like him in Massachusetts. And they have the right to vote. Listen to me. I'm telling you, for much of our history, they actually had literacy tests. Like basic, literacy tests, like sort of like, do you have any clue of what you're about to vote on? And that's why if you didn't pass the literacy test, then you weren't allowed to vote. Do you think someone like him should have the right to vote? Christina in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Christina, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff, but it's actually Manchester, Mass.
You're kidding. I have Christina NH, New Hampshire. So you're calling from Manchester, Massachusetts.
I am, and I'm calling for a shameless plug for myself. On Cape Ann today, the Essex 5th, there's a special election, and I've made it through the primary. I'm the Republican candidate for state representative, and I'm calling all of us like-minded people to get out here in Manchester, Essex, Gloucester, and Rockport to vote for me, please.
And what is your, just so everybody knows, Christina, and what is your last name?
So Ann Margaret Ferrante passed in the fall, so this is a special election to fill her seat.
Okay, and that's in Essex, Rockport, and Manchester, correct? Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that call, Christina. I appreciate it. I had no clue there was a special election today. Huh? The things you learn. Anyway, Mike, I mean, just because somebody says Manchester, it doesn't automatically mean it's New Hampshire, Mike. I'm just saying. All right. Mike says it matters. It does matter because no one's ever heard of Manchester, Massachusetts. All right. Norman in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Norman, and welcome.
Hi. Good morning. I'd like to at least follow up on some of the issues with respect to the invaders that were coming into this country. And I'd like to go back to my heritage. my parents, when they came into this country, they required sponsors. I would like to see if they would require sponsors for all aliens and make sure that those sponsors are making sure that they are fully vetted to understand, what the constitutional requirements are and so forth. I think that would help a lot, especially when there are really good people that are in this country that are really trying to be citizens, but they risk the possibility of being thrown out because they're not citizens by supposedly ICE. But if they had sponsors and sponsors were responsible for their health and welfare, I think that would go a long way. And I would like very much to say that I'm very much encouraging this SAVE Act. This has to pass. I mean, this can't go any further.
Oh, I agree. Norman, it's one of the most important pieces of legislation in my entire life, in my lifetime. And to just sweeten the pot, it's also immensely popular. So not only is it so consequential and so important for the future of our country, I mean, really, outside of life and death, what's more important than honest elections? Election integrity. And that's what this will, I'm not saying 100%, but for the most part, it will ensure that we have honest elections, that will end most voter fraud, and we'll have election integrity again. And it will prevent the Democrats from stealing. And I can't believe they're going to allow this chance to go right through their hands, that they're going to squander it because of traitors and Judases and turncoats like John Thune. And I'm sorry, it has to be unacceptable. And I think Trump now needs to drop the hammer. I agree. Honestly, if not now, when? If not us, who? Nancy in Framingham. Thanks for holding, Nancy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Nancy.
This is what I think Trump has to do. Number one, he needs fireside chats to re-educate the American public, because most Americans are pretty stupid. They don't understand. Number two, he needs privately to investigate Thune with the FBI, Kash Patel. Do it quietly. Don't do it in public. Number three, he's got to call 4 mega Republicans from the Senate. Talk to them privately, not outwardly, privately, to get them raged and see if they can't undo Thune. If you do it publicly, nothing. It's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a mess. But if he did it privately, I think, and then install the Vice President J.D. Vance, that would be phenomenal. And my question to you, Jeff, is...
Mike, you couldn't let her finish her question? Nancy, I love every single point. I agree with you completely.